we are going to go through and set the standard for normal postures right here. I want to go through and talk about the goniometer. So it's real simple. All right. So we have what we're going to call, we got a stationary arm, which is going to be like, okay, this is going to be straight up and down to gravity or whatever. We have a movement arm. All right. So we can move that over to get to what the degree is. And we got the fulcrum in the middle. Okay. And so I'm going to pull up the document here. Let me pull this up for you. And I'll see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So if we go through like this, it says on the side view at the top here, you can see it says the movement arm, the mobile arm, midline through the ala of the nose, which is the side of the nose right here, and then the stationary arm, and it goes. The fulcrum is at the tragus of the ear, and the stationary arm is straight up and down the vertical. And then if I blow this up, let me see if I can blow this up, and we can try and get. There we go. So this is 82 degrees roughly of, where her head is. So she's slightly flexed, but we would call that a normal posture. What we're wanting to measure is only the normal postures, right? And so that's how we would kind of do this. So I put on here, maybe it's 92, maybe it's, 82, maybe whatever. So here's one where we're measuring the spine out to the vertebral border of the scapula. And so depending on what kind of unit you have, you can't really see this, can you? Depending on what kind of unit you have, depending on how many hash marks there are between the inches, you can either have 8 hash marks, 7 hash marks, or 15 hash marks. And so what I did is I said, look, if you happen to have a ruler that has 8 or 7 hash marks, it's 1/8 of an inch. And then here's what you call it, if it's 1/16, then here's what you call it. And so I have all that written out for us so that we're all talking the same language when we're measuring. And we want to measure from the spine out to the vertebral border of the scapula, only on the normal postures that we would call normal. We're not wanting to measure if somebody's off. If we're looking at a posture and we say, oh, that's definitely off, like, oh, we're looking at a posture that is definitely head flexion, we don't want to measure that on the person. That doesn't count for what we're trying to do. We're trying to establish what the normal posture is. So we want to find a normal head posture from flexion and extension. We want to find what we would deem normal distance from the spine to the scapula on both sides. So if they're both, slightly off, but gosh, I don't know which one I would call, measure both and say, okay, on the left side it was this, and on the right side it was this, and they're slightly different. If one's real close in and the other looks more normal, you can just measure the normal side and say the normal side was this, the other side was adductor. You don't even have to say. We just won't have a measurement for that. So for shoulder flexion, now look at this picture, because I want to bring this up. Some of my pictures, when we did the measurement, I got all lined up. I was right in front. I was like this measuring, right? And then we had to have somebody take the picture, and then I had to move out of the way. And when I moved out of the way, sometimes the goniometer moved up, down, over, whatever. And so you can see I have the mobile arm. You go midline to the elbow, and I put an arrow here and an arrow there so you can see midline of the elbow. This is what I'm talking about. So the movement arm comes midline to that. The fulcrum is the middle of the shoulder, and then the stationary arm is straight up and down to vertical. But I have a little note here. I go, the stationary arm is not straight up and down to vertical in this picture, because I had to move out of the way and it altered it just a little bit. Okay. So I couldn't get some of the pictures perfect, right? And so and it bothered me a little bit, but I got over it. And so that's how we're doing this. So bear with me on some of these, but I try and let you know when it's incorrect or what have you. And so we're looking for shoulder medial and lateral rotation on a shoulder that we would say that looks normal. That looks normal. It's not medially rotated. It's not laterally rotated. That one looks normal. So the movement arm is going down to the olecranon. on the back of the elbow right there. And I got the line, I extended a line down so you could see that I'm in line with the olecranon there. And then the stationary arm is straight up and down to vertical, and the fulcrum is going to be at the AC joint right there. So we got the fulcrum there, we got that there. And then you can blow this up and say, okay, to read this, this is approximately, is at about 11 degrees, I think, because there's 0. I believe that's 10. And then it's another 1 or 2 degrees. So maybe it's 12 degrees for that one. And so that's how we're going to do these measurements. So I've got it written out just like that. It's pretty simple. Okay, they're all pretty simple. I want to go down. I want to show you the wrist one. Oh, here is forearm pronation and supination. I struggled with this one, but I think I got it. So the fulcrum is on the olecranon. Okay, the stationary arm goes straight up and down to vertical, or we can go, you know, up and down the middle of the arm there. The movement arm is going to go to the MCP, the metacarpal phalangeal of the pinky, because if the hand moves, pronation or whatever, it's going to move differently from where the olecranon is. So we're going to be able to get a distance there. So we don't want to call, we don't want to measure if we say, oh yeah, you're definitely pronated. We don't want to measure that. We only want to measure when we go, yeah, that looks like a normal hand. I wouldn't call that pronated. I wouldn't call that supinated. I only want to call the normal hand. We're going to measure that one and get a normal posture and what that angle is. I want to show you the PSIS, ASIS. So we're going to move on down. Here we go. PSIS, ASIS. So what happened here, I had to move out of the way. When I did, the fulcrum dropped. Okay. So I drew a line to say this is where the fulcrum should be. It should be in line with that blue line there. Okay. So this fulcrum piece way down here should be in line up with the PSIS. And then again, fulcrum's on the PSIS, movement arms on the ASIS, and the stationary arm is straight up and down to vertical. And then we'll get a posture angle there. And so we're going to do that. Here is middle of the kneecap. Fulcrum's on the middle of the kneecap, right? Middle of the patella. The movement arm is going to go to the middle of the tibial tuberosity, the big bump right below the knee. And then the stationary arm is just going to go midline up the thigh, up the anterior thigh. And then we're going to get whatever that angle happens to be. So these are slightly different. You can see they're slightly different. I haven't looked at this. I can't, let's see if we can get it. This one is about what, 8 degrees, because there's 10. So that's about 8 degrees. And if we go over to this side, this one is, oh geez, this one is maybe right at 10. So this one's just a little bit bigger. This is about 10 degrees, and that one's about 8 degrees for that. So I just wanted to show you how this stuff was laid out. Now, this is ankle inversion and eversion. What I did is, I got the stationary arm is perpendicular to the heel, so we're going straight from behind the person straight in, and then we're going to where the foot is out front. So you can see that this one's, the one on the right is closer to like a 90-degree angle. You know what I mean? So it's going to be closer to a 90-degree. And then this one's definitely going to be over a 90-degree angle for this posture right here. Here's a front view of how it looks if I was measuring it. So I did a posterior view, front view. I tried to get, you know, some different angles in here. So for plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, if we're calling it a normal thing, this is going to go straight up and down to vertical. This is going to be on the heel back here, and then this is going to the movement arm is going to go through the MTP of the little toe. And so we're going to get what is the normal angle. But if they're plantar flexed or dorsiflexed, we don't want to measure that. We only want to get the normal angles. Okay. And so that's it. There's not a lot. I think there's 15 total postures. And so it should be fairly easy to do. It shouldn't take too long to do this. Once you do 1 or 2 or 3 people, it'll get a lot easier. I would love for you guys to be able to get 10 people. At least if you can get more than 10 people, that would be phenomenal. I've got a sheet, a measurement sheet that we can, here, let me share this. I'll show it with you real quick, that we can put our measurements on. So there they are. So if we got, I at first I was going to make it left and right side, and I don't know, maybe I should put left and right side, because if there is a difference, you know, we may have, hey, that one's normal, but I would call that normal too, and they're slightly off. So maybe I will go in and split this up and put left side, right side. And if you feel that you can put a measurement for both, then maybe we do that. But if one is, definitely not normal and the other is, then you could just measure that one. I didn't want that to be confusing, so I just put one thing in there. I may split this up, so I may alter this before I send it out to you, and have two things that you can choose from, just in case it makes we get different degrees or whatever. But that's it. So there's the postures we're measuring. It's not a ton, there's the ones we're measuring that we're going to make normal postures. All right. So that's what I got. Hopefully that wasn't too terribly long of a video. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. And then we'll kind of go from there. So you guys have a great day. I'm excited about this. All right. That is it. Thanks, guys.